Someone has told you they love you, and a part of you quietly filed it as a mistake they had not caught yet. Some clerical error on their side. Something they would notice in a month or two, once they had enough information, and then they would take it back gently, the way people do. Not out loud. Out loud you said thank you. You probably even smiled. But underneath, there was a small calculation running. They do not know me all the way yet. Give it time. You have carried this for years. The sense that you are a little more work than other people. That being close to you costs something, and eventually the bill arrives. I want to show you where that sentence actually came from, because it did not come from evidence. Stay with me. Here is the idea this whole video rests on. Feeling hard to love is not information about you. It is a prediction. Built a long time ago in a house you did not choose, and still running in the present tense. And once you can hear it as a prediction instead of a verdict, the whole thing stops feeling permanent. Let us take it apart. Start somewhere small. A friend says, out of nowhere, that they are glad you exist. Nothing dramatic. You are standing in a kitchen, there is a mug in your hand, and they just say it. Watch what you do next. You make a joke. Or you point out something you got wrong last week, like you are handing over the receipt. Or you say thanks and immediately ask about their weekend. Notice that you did not disagree with them. That is the part people miss. You did not argue. You just moved the sentence somewhere it could not reach you. Because you do not experience it as a lie. You experience it as incomplete information. They like the version of you that shows up on a Tuesday. They have not seen you at 4 a.m. They have not seen the version that goes quiet for 6 days and does not explain why. So the kind thing gets filed under pending review. And the cost is not the moment. It is the total. 20 years of small, warm sentences that never got to land anywhere. And you end up honestly believing nobody has ever been that warm with you. They were. You just could not receive it at the volume it was sent. And you would never do this to anybody else. Someone tells you they are struggling and you believe them on the first try. No cross-examination, no pending review. Only your own file gets the second opinion. Have you noticed that? There is a specific reason for that, and it has almost nothing to do with how lovable you actually are. Think of an old car radio. The station is coming through, the song is playing, but the dial sits a hair off, so everything arrives with static laid over the top. You can still hear it, you just cannot hear it clean. That is the whole problem, right there. Not the signal, the tuning. But here is where it gets interesting, because that dial is not a mood. It is a structure. Your friend takes 3 hours to answer a message. There are maybe 10 ordinary explanations. A meeting, a dead battery, a kid, traffic, they fell asleep at 9. Your mind does not hand you 10. It hands you 1, instantly, before you have decided anything. They are getting tired of me. Aaron Beck, the psychiatrist who built cognitive therapy, called these core beliefs. Not thoughts you pick. More like the lens the thoughts are already arriving through. A core belief does not argue with you. It just sorts the day, quietly, in the background. And here is the sneaky part. A core belief keeps everything that agrees with it and discounts everything that does not. Someone cancels on you? Stored, filed, remembered in detail 3 years later. Someone drives 40 minutes in the rain to sit on your floor and say nothing? That one gets explained away. They were free that night. They felt bad for you. They are just a nice person. They would have done it for anyone. Do you see what is happening there? You are not collecting evidence. You are grading it. And the grading is rigged before you start, which means the belief can never lose. It has been fed for years and starved of nothing. That is why being told you are loved does not fix it. The information keeps arriving. It just keeps getting marked down at the door. But a belief this strong did not install itself in adulthood. You are 6, maybe 7. You have made something. A drawing, a tower of blocks, it does not matter. And you are standing in the hallway outside the living room, holding it, waiting. Not because you are shy, because you are reading the house first, whether the television is on, how the day went, whether now is a good time. Most kids just walk in. You learn to check the weather first. John Bowlby, who built attachment theory, described what he called an internal working model. A child watches, thousands of times, what happens when they reach for someone. Out of all those small results, they build a private map. Is comfort available? And am I the kind of person people move toward? That map gets drawn early, before you have the language to argue with it, and then you carry it into every room for the rest of your life. Here is the part that is not fair. The adult in that house might have been exhausted, or grieving, or working 2 jobs, or sick, or 26 years old with no idea what they were doing. Ordinary reasons, non-villainous ones. But a child cannot think, my mother is having a hard year. A child thinks, I am too much. That is not a flaw in the child. That is how children make sense of things. They put themselves at the center because the center is the only place they can stand. And the conclusion lands like a fact because it formed before you knew conclusions could be wrong. That is where the dial got knocked, not by you. And this is where it gets complicated because the belief does not sit still. It goes out and finds work. Geraldine Downey, a psychologist at Columbia, studies what she named rejection sensitivity. People high in it expect rejection, read it faster into situations that are genuinely ambiguous, and then behave in ways that make it more likely to actually happen. The loop is the finding. You have lived inside that loop. You know what it looks like from in here. You leave the party 20 minutes early, so nobody has to decide whether to keep talking to you. You answer a little cooler than you feel, so the distance between you is one you chose. You overgive until the friendship is a service you provide, because a person who is useful is harder to leave. Or you ask in 6 different ways whether they are mad at you. Or you leave a message on read for 2 days, not because you do not want to answer, but because answering warmly feels like handing someone a rope. Every one of those is protection. That is the honest read, not manipulation, not neediness, protection. It is the same instinct as pulling your hand back before the water is even hot. Sensible if the burn is real. Expensive if the burn happened in 1998. But stand on the other side of the room for a second. Someone watches you leave early and reads it as coolness. Someone reads the flat message and decides you have lost interest. So they step back, politely, reasonably, and your radio picks that up loud and clear. Sandra Murray, who spent decades researching how people read their partners, found something quietly devastating. People who doubt their own worth consistently underestimate how positively their partner actually sees them. And that quiet underestimate pushes them to pull away, which strains the exact bond they were trying to protect. So the proof arrives. The proof always arrives. It just did not come from the world. It came from a hand on a dial that nobody, including you, ever noticed turning. And that is not your fault either. Nobody teaches you to catch a reflex that has been running since before you could read. Now turn it over, because there is something in all this you have never once counted. Think about who actually lies awake auditing themselves, who replays the tone of one message at midnight, who worries they took up too much room at dinner. It is never the careless. People who genuinely do not care whether they are good to be around sleep beautifully. You can probably name one right now. The worry is not proof of the defect. The worry is proof of the investment. You are not someone who is bad at love. You are someone who takes it so seriously that you have spent your whole life checking whether you are doing it well enough. That is a heavy thing to carry, and it is the exact opposite of what you have been accusing yourself of. So here is the sentence I want you to take out of this. You are not hard to love. You are hard to convince. That difference is the whole thing. Hard to love would mean the problem sits in what you are. Hard to convince means the problem sits in what you can receive. One of those is a wall. The other is a setting. There is nothing wrong with you. The affection has been arriving for years, awkwardly sometimes, imperfectly, the way real people do it. It arrived through static, so you heard the static and assumed that was the song. And I am not going to tell you to just believe people, because that is not how a belief this old comes apart. It comes apart in small, unglamorous moments. Someone says something warm, and instead of reaching for the joke, you sit in the discomfort for 4 seconds and let it stay where they put it. That is the whole move. 4 uncomfortable seconds, again and again, until the dial creeps back, and one day a song comes through clean. And you understand that the static was never in the room. It was in the receiver, and receivers can be tuned. If any part of this landed, do something for me. Think of the last kind thing somebody said to you that you deflected. The compliment you turned into a joke. Put it in the comments exactly the way they said it, without shrinking it down. I read them. Someone has been trying to reach you on a clean frequency for a very long time. Maybe this week you let one song through. Subscribe to keep decoding yourself, and I'll see you in the next.